Hi folks, Donna Bob here, back in the new Challenge Park, which has its name on the sign now, Challenger Park. And this is pretty much where I left it at the end of the last episode. And today we're jumping in for a lot of speed build. I'm going to start by grabbing a piece of the entrance building, part of the walkway. You can see I changed the color of the walkway. Health and safety also got on me about that. The dark color is really a poor choice in the tropics for people's comfort. So these outdoor areas went with a lighter colored cement. So move the piece out there to set up an area and do some flattening because I don't want to mess with uneven ground. And we'll get it straightened out there. Make sure I got enough room, and then separate it from the group that is the entrance building and make it its own group. And there were a couple of fits and starts on this, getting the various pieces lined up and working so that they overlapped reasonably. I wanted to use all modern materials in this, so I took my concrete and I made it sand colored and made the blocks, mostly because I wanted to use the new rock wall texture that comes with that, and also I made that skinnier so that it has some relief against the walls. So you can see me taking the two triangles and the column and turning them just a little bit from the base orientation, and that's so they will look better as you go around and get things more or less lined up as you bring the pieces around using the rotational tool. And that's one of the goofs you saw, that I hadn't gotten my separation right and things were not lining up as they should on that first try. And they're still not lining up here on this one, but I decided it was close enough for what I had in mind. Having made the circle, I didn't really want the back half, so away it went. And the idea was to then take that 90-degree turned piece on either side and repeat it to extend the building. But first I wanted to fix some of the problematic elements, like these little blocks. Besides being a decorative element, those little blocks hide the overlap on the roof pieces and make them blend a little bit better. All that selection was to get rid of the heavy Z fighting that was going on because of the overlap of the pieces, and taking out a wall in a couple of places, one on either side of this U-shaped structure. And I had previously taken one out of the center there, which will be the entrance to the interior. And now using the habitat markers to lay out where the area is going to be for the habitats. This structure will share a shelter building for two different habitats, one with an exterior portion on each side of the, one having an exterior portion on one side and the other on the other side. So, wanted to get my estimate of the size volume by checking that on the lower part of that habitat pop-up. And you saw me take the size of that space down quite a bit because it was way more space than it needed to be. And once that was more or less where I wanted it, it was time to change the kind of fence that's in there, basically swapping the habitat marker out for actual fence or modular materials in order to make a successful enclosure that would keep an animal in. And then this is set up particularly on the inside, that will be modified later. But I wanted to make sure I had enough of an enclosing habitat to bring an animal in, because that's where you get the fastest feedback as to whether the habitat is suitable or not. So while there's no roof on it, I wanted to lay out the base structure for the inside of the building, because it's easier to work with that way. And you will, in subsequent elements, see a bit more of that before the final roof goes on. So laying down a base texture lets me get a better idea of what things are looking like. For some reason, I find the grass a little awkward to see relief on. So keeping track of where the habitat is raised and where it's flat is easier for me when it's a simple ground texture that offers a good, a brighter color, so the shadows are more obvious. So I extended that further than the habitat itself, in part because I'm expecting to do foliage around the outside and also the path for the guests to come see the habitat. I want that to be more immersive with the nature in the habitat as well. So we're down to getting some foliage in. My plan was to get some in and see how the animals liked it, and deal with that after. The other necessary things, of course, are food and water. Start by putting in a water pool. This is obviously a desert environment, so we don't need a big pool of water. The animals wouldn't be used to that. So with those food and water pieces in, playing with the foliage to spread it out a little bit to make it a little bit more aesthetic looking. I'm pretty confident at this point that I've got too much vegetation in here, but the animal will confirm that. And then I'll have to make decisions about what to pare away. Most happy. But overall, I think it's looking okay. Put an animal in without a nursery module, so in goes one. I actually like the fact that these things look like shipping, transport crates for animals, and I'm going to take advantage of that in this park. It's, of course, outside the power radius from the original power source, so it's time to add another one and extend that radius. And then the first pass going in, I want an offset away from the glass, because ultimately I don't want the guests banging on the glass and disturbing the animals. Laying in my first take on what I want that pathing to look like. One around the habitat, one across the front of the building, and then a path out from the front of the building to the main pathway of the park. So this time I am using an arid path type, since this is animals from the Djadochta formation, and Velociraptor itself is the first one in, and there we go. Wandering around, checking it out. I'm checking out whether it's happy. It's got the foliage it needs. I'm going to have to come in and do some adjustments. But since the animal's in, the guests will be coming in. I wanted to jump ahead and get a sign in for it and get those all-important donation bins up so that we can get our income moving as soon as possible. And that's enough for the game to start playing. I spent an awful lot of time playing with the thing on pause because it helps me concentrate. But in running a game, it helps to have the game running so you don't have the huge spikes in expenses messing up your income. I also wanted to make sure we had guests amenities available. This is an arid version of the amenity block that I use typically for franchise parks as a pretty useful way to keep the guests at a happy level, although right now they're just always happy. But this has two food stations and a merchandise station and a small restroom, and it goes a long way to keeping the guests happy. I don't know if you noticed, the first guest out of the gate there ran right over to that amenity. So we're closing in on the end of it now, and got some in-action shots of the brand new Velociraptor. Well, that's something I haven't seen before. I would have had the camera backed up if I had any idea he might do that. So I have a male and female here, and they're kind of doing an S-curve weave here as they're trying to sort out where they're going, running up through the bush there and heading for the food, I guess. You can see this was shot after what I've built so far, so you're seeing some stuff that will be getting put in later videos, and we'll see how that all goes in another video. I'm glad you stopped by for this one. I hope you'll stop by for some more. The interior here is a little boring. I'm going to be working on that some more in the future, but you can see the general layout of a concrete area for the animals, which is more easily cleanable. The animals are finding their beds these days, and just making themselves comfortable. Anyway, like I said, coming up on the end, and it's time for me to think about signing off. I hope you enjoyed the little ride today, and you'll show up in the forthcoming videos. The Velociraptor is going to sleep, so it's time for me to sign off too. Y'all take care to each other, and hope to see you